Hello, and welcome to another Playful Fox production courtesy of the Society of Radio Theater. Our Christmas present to you this year is a true classic, Miracle on 34th Street. It's wrapped in a covering of laughter, tied with a bright ribbon of good humor, and decorated with sparkling stars from throughout the community. This is a wonderful story for the whole family, and perhaps some families may be gathered around a Christmas tree as they listen. Others may be putting up this happy sign of the season with lights and ornaments and shining tinsel. Plus, we are so very excited to have some special guests as part of our cast, the participants from the Crossing All Bridges Learning Center. We'll talk more about them and the center later on, but right now, it's curtain time for the play that proves there is a Santa Claus, Miracle on 34th Street. It's Thanksgiving Day in New York City. On a broad avenue adjoining Central Park, an annual event is being joyfully awaited. The spectacular parade presented by Macy's department store to herald in the Christmas season. Away from the crowd are two of Macy's public relations experts.
He's simply wonderful, Mrs. Walker. Just look at him on that float. The most realistic Santa Claus we've ever had. Why, he didn't even need any padding, did he?
Padding?
Didn't you notice his tummy? So round, so firm, so fully packed. Well, now that everything's under control, where on earth did he find him?
I don't know. I just turned around and there he was.
And to think that the man whose place he took was intoxicated.
With a breath that would knock over a reindeer.
Oh, just think if Mrs. Macy had even seen him.
Well, what if Mr. Gimbel had seen him? Competition between our stores is tough enough.
Well, the parade's starting. Let's stand at the curb.
Not I, Miss Shellhammer. I'm going home to relax. Anyway, I can see it from there. I live just around the corner.
Oh, so you do? Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Mrs. Walker, and congratulations on finding the best Santa Claus in Macy's history.
Well, it certainly is a wonderful parade, Susan. I mean, just look at that clown. Gosh, what a giant.
Giant, Mr. Gailey? There are no such things as giants.
Well, not now, maybe, but in olden days there...
Really, Mr. Gailey? And you're the lawyer.
Well, what about the giant that Jack killed? You know, Jack and the Beanstalk?
Everybody knows that's a fairy tale. And I agree with my mother. Fairy tales are silly.
Come in.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan's mother. My maid said...
Oh, hello, Mother. I'm watching the parade. Mr. Gailey invited me.
Hello, darling.
Well, Susie's told me quite a lot about you, Mrs. Walker.
She's told me quite a lot about you, too. The man in the front apartment.
Well, that is all part of a plot, Miss Walker, you see. I'm very fond of Susie, but I also wanted to meet you.
At least you're frank.
There goes Santa Claus.
Oh, don't even mention the name.
Why not, Mother?
Well, that Santa Claus you see is a last-minute substitute.
But why?
Do you remember the way the janitor was last New Year's?
Oh my, tight as an owl.
I see Susan doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
That's right, she never has.
Well, that's the end of the parade. Mother, I've been thinking. It's Thanksgiving, and there are only two of us. Couldn't we invite Mr. Gailey?
Well,
Please, don't bother. I'll just have a sandwich or something.
But we have such a big turkey. Please, Mother, please.
Well,
Did I ask her all right, Mr. Gailey?
Susie, shh.
You asked fine, Susan. Dinner's at 3, Mr. Gailey.
Hello, Mrs. Walker?
Yes, Miss Shellhammer.
Your maid said that you were at Thanksgiving dinner, but I just had to tell you. Your Santa Claus was stupendous.
Well, thank you.
Mrs. Macy herself wants him to be our toy department Santa Claus.
Oh, that's just fine. Can you hire him?
Oh, I already have. Oh, he's a born salesman. I just feel it.
Good. We'll talk about it in the morning. Thanks for calling, Miss Shellhammer.
Here he is, Mr. Shellhammer. Here's Santa Claus.
Oh, thank you, Alfred. Thank you. Good morning, Santa Claus.
Oh, good morning.
Now, before you go to the toy department, here's a list of toys that we have to push.
Oh.
You know, things we're overstocked on. Now, you'll find that a great many children will be undecided as to what they want for Christmas. And when that happens, you immediately suggest one of these items. Do you understand?
Oh, I certainly do.
Fine, that's fine. Now, take the list and Alfred here will show you to your throne in the toy department. And don't you forget, you're working for Macy's.
Are you really Santa Claus?
Why, of course I am. What do you want for Christmas, little boy?
I want a fire hydrant with a real hose that squirts real wet water. And I won't do it in the house. I'll only do it in the backyard, I promise.
And I promise you'll get your fire engine.
You see, Mom, I told you he'd get me one.
That's fine. That's just dandy. You wait here, Mortimer. Mama wants to thank Santa Claus, too.
Yes, madam.
Say, what's the matter with you?
Now, what's the trouble?
I told you before, didn't I? The kid wants a fire engine, but there isn't one to be had anywhere in town. Macy's ain't got any. Gimbel's ain't got any. Nobody's got any. My feet are killing me. And you say, okay, he gets the fire engine.
But you can get those fire engines at Schoonfield's, Lexington Avenue. Only $4.50. A wonderful bargain.
Hey, I don't get it.
Oh, I follow toy market very closely.
Macy's sending people to other stores.
Yes.
Are you kidding?
Oh, no. The one important thing is to make the children happy. Whether Macy's or somebody else sells the toy doesn't matter. Don't you feel that way?
Who, me?
Yes.
Well, yeah, sure. Only I didn't know Macy's did. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Who's next, please? Right this way to see Santa Claus. All right, little girl, you're next.
Of course, little girl. You want some roller skates? Well, you shall have them too.
He's going to buy me some roller skates. He's going to buy me some roller skates.
And he has some fine skates here at Macy's. Haven't you, Santa Claus?
Oh, they're good skates, all right, but not quite good enough. Now, I left some really wonderful roller skates at Gimbel's. I'm sure Gimbel's have just what the little girl wants.
Are you Shellhammer?
Good.
Gimbel's? Gimbel's. That's just what he did say, Gimbel's?
The sales lady said I should speak to you.
Gimbel's.
I just wanted to congratulate you and Macy's on this wonderful new stunt you're pulling.
Gimbel's.
Imagine a big outfit like Macy's putting the spirit of Christmas ahead of the commercial.
Gimbel's.
From now on, I'm gonna be a regular Macy's customer. All right, Mortimer, we're going.
Gimbel's!
And there's the toy department over there, Mr. Gailey.
You certainly know a lot about Macy's store, don't you, Susan?
Well, that's because my mother works here. But I still think it's silly bringing me here to see Santa Claus.
Well, I just feel that when you talk to him, you might...
Okay, Mr. Gailey. I'm certainly willing to try.
Well, what a fine young lady, eh? What's your name, little girl?
Susan Walker, what's yours?
Mine? Kris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you don't believe that, eh?
You see, my mother's Mrs. Walker.
Oh!
But I must say, you're the best looking Santa Claus I've ever seen.
Really?
Your beard, for instance, it doesn't have one of those things that go over your ears.
That's because it's real. Just like I'm really Santa Claus. Now, go ahead. Pull it.
Oh my goodness, it is real.
Yes. And now, what would you like me to bring you for Christmas?
Nothing, thank you. Whatever I want, my mother will get. If it's sensible and doesn't cost too much.
Oh?
That's quite right, Susan.
Oh, hello, Mother.
Hello, Mr. Gailey.
Hello. The explanation for all this is very simple. Your maid's mother sprained her ankle. She had to go home, so she asked me to bring Susie down to you. And as long as we were here, I figured we might as well say hello to Santa Claus.
He has real whiskers, Mother.
Susan, would you mind standing over there for a minute?
If you want me to.
I shouldn't have brought Susie to see Santa, is that it?
Now you're making me feel completely heartless.
I'm sorry.
Don't you see? I tell Susan that Santa Claus is a myth, and you show her a very convincing old man with real whiskers. Who is she to believe?
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
When Susan was a baby, her father and I were divorced, and ever since, I've protected my child by teaching her realities. If you don't believe in fairy tales and fantasy, you can never be hurt or disillusioned.
We were talking about Susie, Mrs. Walker.
And I must ask you to let me raise her as I see fit. All right, dear. The store's going to close soon. We'll run along to my office.
Alfred said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker?
Yes. Come in. I'd be grateful if you'd please tell Susan that you're not really Santa Claus, that there actually is no such person.
Oh, but Mrs. Walker, not only is there such a person, but I'm here to prove it.
No. You misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. Now, what's your real name?
Kris Kringle, and I always tell the truth. Susan, I'll bet you're in the 1st grade.
2nd grade.
I mean your real name.
Well, that is my real name. My goodness, the 2nd grade.
Very well. I have your employment card right here. I'll look it up on that.
That's a very cute dress you have on, Susan.
It's from Macy's. We get 10% off.
So, you always tell the truth, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at your employment card.
Name, Kris Kringle. Address, Brooks Memorial Home, Great Neck, Long Island. You may call the home, if you'd care to confirm that, Mrs. Walker. It's a home for elderly gentlemen.
Would you also like me to confirm this?
What's that?
Date of birth, as old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Place of birth, North Pole. Now, really.
Why, I believe you doubt me, Mrs. Walker.
And this tops everything. Next of kin.
Oh, that.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen. I'm sorry to have to do this, Mr.
Kringle.
But the Santa Claus that we had 2 years ago is back in town, and I feel that we owe it to him to,
Have I done something wrong?
Oh, no. It's just that we feel... excuse me. Hello?
This is Mrs. Shellhammer. Mrs. Walker, drop whatever you're doing. Mrs. Macy wants to see us immediately.
I'll be right up. I'm afraid I'll have to be very abrupt with you. I have to see Mrs. Macy. You'll be paid for the full week, Mr. Kringle, and I'll send your check to that address.
Come right in, Mrs. Walker, Mrs. Shellhammer.
Thank you, Mrs. Macy.
Now, about this new policy you two initiated.
Oh.
Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbel's?
But I can explain everything, Mrs. Macy.
You don't have to explain a thing. Just look at my desk. 42 telegrams and over 500 phone calls. Grateful parents expressing undying gratitude to Macy's department store.
What? You don't say?
And from now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue this manner, but every salesperson in the entire store.
You mean that if we haven't got what the customer asks for, we're to
send him where we can get it. No high pressuring and forcing a customer to take something he doesn't really want.
Well, I think that's wonderful, Mrs. Macy.
Well, we'll be known as a helpful store, the friendly store, the store that places public service ahead of profits. And consequently, we'll make more profits than ever. As for you, Mrs. Walker, Mrs. Shellhammer, you'll find a more practical expression for my gratitude in your Christmas envelopes.
Oh!
Thank you, Mrs. Macy.
Yes!
And tell that wonderful Santa Claus I won't forget him either. Matter of fact, I'll tell him myself in the morning.
Yes, indeed, Mrs. Macy.
Good night, good night.
Good night, Mrs. Macy.
And thank you again, ma'am. Imagine, a bonus!
Yes.
What's the matter with you?
Miss Shellhammer, I just fired him.
Who?
Santa Claus.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No, you couldn't have.
But I did. He's crazy, Miss Shellhammer. He thinks he really is Santa Claus.
I don't care if he thinks he's the Easter Bunny. Find him!
Now, before we continue with the next act, I'd like to talk about the fundraiser that we have going on with this production. And I have with me Jill Pye from Crossing All Bridges. Jill,
Hello.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So we had this idea to make this production a fundraiser a few months ago, and we were super excited to have some of the participants from Crossing All Bridges in. Can you tell me a little bit about the Crossing All Bridges Learning Center and what it's all about?
I'd be happy to. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for including us. Crossing All Bridges Learning Center has been around for about 20 years now. We celebrated our 20th anniversary recently. Basically, it is a learning center for adults living with special needs. So basically what we do there is we operate very much like a school where we offer 5 core programs. So there's the Rec and Wellness program, the Culinary program, the Community Culture in Me program, the Digital program, and the Expressive Arts program, which is what I run.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the program that you run?
Absolutely. So Expressive Arts is kind of in the name, where it's all about encouraging participants to learn skills that express individuality, that express emotion. We talk a lot about finding ways to pour our emotions or experiences into creating art or music, theater, all those therapeutic ways that humans find to deal with or process our experiences in life.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of some of the participants being involved in theater, of course,
Yes.
some of them are in this production of Miracle on 34th
They
Street.
are.
But we also had some of the participants from C.A.B. in another production that you were involved in. It was a very special production of The Merry Wives of Windsor.
Yes, we did do a production. It was also a fundraiser for Crossing All Bridges Learning Center. So we did, you'll notice one of our participants who is in the production was in Merry Wives, and it's just a great opportunity right now, and that opportunity as well to include our participants in community events. That's something that we really strive for at Crossing All Bridges, is to find ways to include our participants in what's going on in our surrounding community. We just recently had an art show at Temptation Kitchen, which you came to, which I really appreciate.
Oh, it was a fantastic art show. It was just to see the creativity and just everyone together celebrating, and it was amazing to see.
It's great that there are people who are aligning with our vision. We strive for inclusion, and we strive for finding pockets of safe and happy communities for our participants to be involved in, participate in. So this was a great experience. As you can see, they were so excited to be here, and I think they have a lot of skills and talents that may be overlooked or underappreciated. So I'm really grateful that you gave us this opportunity, and they're super fun.
Mm-hmm. They really are. We had a lot of fun behind the scenes recording this and going through everything, and they're just fantastic. So if you're interested in helping out with this fundraiser, you can find the link on our joint social medias through Playful Fox Productions, through the Crossing All Bridges Learning Center. We'll have the link to the GoFundMe posted all over the place. And if they want to reach out to help in other ways with Crossing All Bridges, how can they do so? How can they get a hold of you?
Yes, so if you want to reach me directly, I can give my email if that's okay.
By all means.
All right, I'll give you my email. So it's jpye@crossingallbridges.ca. So jpye@crossingallbridges.ca. And if you would like to get a hold of our program coordinator, or you'd like to, maybe you have someone in your life that would you think would benefit from using the program, or you would like to donate to the center in its entirety, you can visit our website at crossingallbridges.ca.
Fantastic. Well, Jill, I think I speak for everyone when I just say, thank you for coming in. I'm so happy to have you and the participants from Crossing All Bridges to come in and be a part of this production. So just Thank you so much.
Having me.
Oh, you are very welcome.
This is so great.
This is fantastic.
Yes.
To listen to the full interview with Jill Pye from Crossing All Bridges Learning Center, you can find the link on our social media and in the description of this video. And now, Act 2 of Miracle on 34th Street. It was a frantic few hours that Doris spent last night, rushing out to the Brooks Memorial Home in Long Island and assuring Kris Kringle that Macy's wanted him back as Santa Claus. Now, Kris is again presiding over the crowded toy department, while in her office, Doris and Miss Shellhammer...
Don't you understand, Miss Shellhammer? That nice old man with the nice white whiskers insists that he is Santa Claus. He's out of his mind. What if he should have a fit or something? No, I've got to tell Mrs. Macy.
Yes, but maybe he's only a little crazy. Anyway, you can't be sure until he's examined. We'll send him to Miss Sawyer.
Sawyer?
In personnel. She's paid to examine employees, isn't she? And now, by the way, what do you think of this?
What is it?
A full-page ad Macy's is running in tomorrow's newspapers.
Macy's is running it? But it's all about the other stores, Gimbel's and Saks.
I know. Mrs. Macy's idea, to help our customers find what they want. Oh... It's revolting, isn't it?
That Santa Claus certainly has started something. Oh well, I'll get a hold of him at his lunch hour and send him up to Miss Sawyer.
So I changed my clothes, Miss Sawyer, and came right up.
Oh, well then, that's your own beard, huh?
Oh, yes.
Interesting complex behind that. Why do you carry a cane?
Always carry a cane, Miss Sawyer. Well, that is when I wear street clothes. I carved this cane out of a runner of one of my old sleighs.
What's that?
With a fine, solid silver top.
Who was the first president of the United States?
Oh, give me a difficult one, like who's the vice president under James Monroe?
I'm conducting this examination.
The answer is Daniel D. Tompkins. Yes, you're a rather nervous lady, aren't you, Miss Sawyer? Oh, tell me, do you get enough sleep?
My personal habits are no concern of yours. Now, what hand am I holding up?
Right hand.
How many fingers do you see?
3. Oh dear, you bite your nails too.
Stand up now. Feet together, arms extended.
Muscular coordination test? Oh, I've taken dozens of these tests. Miss Sawyer, are you happy at home?
What? That will be all, Mr. Kringle. The examination is over.
Thank you.
And it may interest you to know I've been happily married for 22 years. Very happily married.
Oh, delighted to hear it. Goodbye, Miss Sawyer.
Miss Prong?
Yes, miss.
Get Mrs. Walker on the phone.
Yes, miss. Here, Mrs. Walker.
Oh, all right. Hello?
Oh, I was just gonna call you, Mrs. Sawyer.
Oh?
There's a Dr. Pierce stopping by this afternoon at 3.
Who's Dr. Pierce?
He's the physician at the Brooks home. I thought we might discuss Mr. Kringle's case with him.
Well, there's hardly any point in discussing it, Mrs. Walker. Obviously, the old man should be discharged. So, Dr. Pierce, Kringle should be dismissed immediately and sent to the mental institution.
Oh, now just a minute, Miss Sawyer.
Ah, he's deluded, saying that he's Santa Claus.
It's a delusion for good. I found he only wants to be friendly and helpful.
His whole manner suggests aggressiveness. Look at the way he carries that cane. Mrs. Walker, naturally, I can't discharge that loony. So when he exhibits his maniacal tendencies, please realize the responsibility is completely yours.
Well, I'm right back where I started.
Mrs. Walker, I assure you, Kris Kringle has no maniacal tendencies.
But if there's the slightest possibility of his causing any trouble...
What trouble?
All that needs to happen is a policeman asks his name. Kris Kringle. Clang, clang. And Macy's Santa Claus lands up in the psychopathic ward.
Well, you can prevent that very simply. Now, there must be somebody here at the store who could rent him a room. Then they could both come to work together. I'd just as soon he avoided that long train ride to Long Island anyway.
You mean sort of take custody of him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Mr. Kringle would agree to that?
Oh, I'm sure he'll agree.
Well, in that case... Now, let me see. Who do I know who could rent him a room?
I'm glad you're going to have dinner with us, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
I'm also very glad that you're going to live next door with Mr. Gailey.
Oh? Why?
Because you're nice to talk to.
Oh, I say. What a fine young man that Mr. Gailey is, eh? Oh, just think. Allowing me to share his apartment. A mere stranger.
He did it because Mother hinted him to.
Oh, well. Anyway, I'm very grateful.
Shall I tell you what I did in school today?
Oh, by all means. Any games?
Yes, and a very silly game, too.
Oh?
They played zoo, and each child was supposed to be an animal.
Oh. But Susan, they were just pretending.
But that's what makes the game so silly.
Oh, well, of course. In order to play games, you need an imagination.
Oh, that's when you see things, but they're not really there, huh?
Yes, well, yes, but, you know, to me, imagination is a place all by itself. Now, you've heard of the French nation, and the British nation.
Yes.
Well, this is imagination. Very interesting place, too.
Don't you
Now,
understand?
How would you like to be able to make snowballs in summertime, eh?
What? Insists that he is Santa Claus. He's out of his mind.
Fly south
he
with a flock of geese.
Well, I'm quite sure I'd like it, but...
It's very simple. Really? Well, anyway, look here. Next time they play zoo, you can be a monkey.
But I don't know how to be a monkey.
Don't you? Oh, I'll show you. Now first, you bend over a little, like this, see? Now, let your arms hang loose, see?
Like this?
Yeah, that's fine, fine. Now, put your hand over here and start scratching. See? That's it, that's it. That's excellent, Susan. That's as fine a bit of scratching as I've ever seen. Now you start chattering.
Chattering?
Yes. Now listen. See? And you keep scratching. Now then, look here, we'll do it together. See? Chatter and scratch and chitter. See? That's fine. Oh, Susan, that is most fine. You are doing beautifully. Huh? Yes! Susan, are you still awake?
Uh-huh.
I'm just coming in to say goodnight, Susan. That's all. Now, look here. About Christmas. There must be something you'd like for Christmas.
Well, I've certainly thought about something, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, you have? Well, what is it, eh? Tell me.
It's right here, on the night table. See?
Oh?
I tore this page out of a magazine. It's a picture of a house.
Oh, that's what you want, is it? A doll's house, colonial architecture.
Oh, not a doll's house. A real house.
A real house?
Yes. And if you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me.
Now, wait a minute, Susie. What could you possibly do with a big house?
Live in it with my mother. And a backyard with a big tree to put a swing on, and a garden and a... Oh, well. Why even discuss it?
Susie, could I keep this picture? Just in case.
I guess so.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Well, Mr. Gailey's waiting for me. Good night, monkey.
Good night, Mr. Kringle.
Take whichever bed you want, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, you're very kind, really. Tell me, Mr. Gailey, just what is it you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a lawyer. Hayslip, Sherman, and Mackenzie.
Oh, and you like living here in the city?
Well, it's convenient. Someday I'd like to get a place on Long Island. Well, not a big house, just one of those junior partner deals around Manhasset.
Oh, one of those colonial houses, eh?
Yeah. I mean, a little colonial house would be swell.
Oh, good, yes. You're quite fond of Mrs. Walker, aren't you?
A lot of good does me. She lives in a cast iron shell that's just a little difficult to penetrate.
Oh. Well, you must try harder, Mr. Gailey. You know, Mrs. Walker and that child are a couple of lost souls. And it's up to us to help them.
Was that so?
Yes, she, Oh, well. Shall I turn out the light?
No.
No?
No, I'm not going to be cheated out of this. You know, all my life I've wondered about it. Now I'm going to find out. Tell me, does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers outside or inside the covers?
Oh. Outside, of course. Outside by all means. The cold air makes them grow.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Walker, come in.
Thank you, Mrs. Macy. I've just heard something very exciting.
You have? Well, let me tell you something very exciting. Our policy of being kind to customers has tripled our sales. Now, what do you think of that?
That's wonderful, Mrs. Macy. And Gimbel's thinks it's wonderful, too.
Gimbel's?
Gimbel's is adopting the same policy.
Well, is that so?
And it gives me an idea. As long as Gimbel's is doing the same thing, why not have some pictures for the newspapers?
Pictures?
You and Mr. Gimbel shaking hands.
Shaking hands? R.H. Macy and Gimbel?
Well, yes.
Yes. Why not? With Santa Claus. It's a great idea, Mrs. Walker. Macy and Gimbel. Shaking hands.
Thank you, Gamble.
Stand right there. Out of the way.
Thank you, Mrs. Macy.
Oh, that's enough pictures, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Gimbel?
Come on, RH. Now we'll go over to my store and get some really good pictures.
Oh, just a minute. I have something here for Santa Claus. Here you are, Mr. Kringle, a check in appreciation for all you've done.
Mrs. Macy, why, that's most kind of you.
I didn't think you were that generous, RH. That's quite a check. What are you going to do with it, Mr. Kringle?
Well, I have a friend, Dr. Pierce. He needs a new x-ray machine.
Buy the machine through the store, 10% discount.
Nonsense. Come over to Gimbel's. We'll furnish it at cost.
Keep it up, you two. Keep it up. At this rate, my friend will have a whole new hospital.
How did the pictures turn out?
Oh, fine, Alfred, fine. How about a game of checkers during lunch, eh?
Not today. I don't feel so good.
Oh? What's the matter, Alfred?
Oh, nothing much. You remember I was telling you how I like to play Santa Claus over at the Y and give out packages to the kids?
Yes?
Well, I was telling my S.O.R.T about it, and she says that's very bad, that it's all wrong.
Wrong? To be nice to children?
Well, she says guys who play Santa do it because when they were young, they must have done something bad, and now they do something they think it's good to make up for it. It's what she calls a guilt complex.
Alfred, what else has she found wrong with you?
Oh, I think that's just that I hate my father. I didn't know it, but she says I do.
Please excuse me.
Are you gonna have lunch?
Later. Right now, I have an appointment with Miss Sawyer.
What do you mean, breaking into my office like this?
Are you a licensed psychiatrist?
What business is it of yours?
I have a great respect for psychiatry and great contempt for meddling amateurs who go around practicing it.
Oh, shut up!
Oh, you ought to be horsewhipped. Taking a boy like Alfred and filling him up with complexes and phobias.
I think I'm better equipped to judge that than you.
Just because Alfred wants to be kind to children, you tell him he has a guilt complex?
Having the same delusion you couldn't possibly understand.
Oh!
And don't you wave that cane at me.
Either you stop analyzing Alfred, or I'll go straight to Mrs. Macy and tell her what a contemptible fraud you are.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here before I have you thrown out.
There's only one way to handle a lady like you. Maybe this will knock some sense into you.
Oh, help. Oh, my head.
Good day, Miss Sawyer.
Miss Prong, get me the police. Get me Mrs. Walker. Get me the psych ward in Bellevue Hospital.
You can see Mr. Kringle now, Mr. Gailey.
Thank you, nurse. Hello, Kris.
Hello, Fred.
Kris, I've been speaking to the doctors. They said they've given you some tests.
Oh, yes. Same old tests.
Except this time you failed to pass them. Kris, you deliberately failed. Why?
Why? Well, because I had great hopes, Fred. I had a feeling Mrs. Walker was beginning to believe in me, and now I discover she was only humoring me all the time.
But this wasn't Doris' idea at all. Sawyer had you set up here before she even knew about it.
But why? Why didn't she come to me and explain things?
Because she didn't want to hurt you.
Oh, well, it's not just Mrs. Walker, it's... Well, now, take Miss Sawyer. She's contemptible, dishonest, deceitful. Yet she's out there and I'm in here. Well, if that's normal, I don't want it.
You can't just think of yourself, Kris. What happens to you matters to a lot of other people. People like me who believe in what you stand for. And people like Susie, who are just beginning to. Kris, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're letting us down.
Well, Fred, maybe you're right. Of course you're right. I ought to be ashamed of myself. Let's get out of here.
Oh, no. Now, wait a minute. You flunked your mental examination, but good.
Oh, yes, so I did. Well, anyway, you're a lawyer. You fix it.
Hey, look, I just can't...
Now, I won't let you down, and you won't let me down.
Kris, now take it easy. Look, there'll have to be a hearing. If you're going to be committed, it has to be before a judge.
Well?
Well, if I can do anything at all, it'll have to be in a courtroom. And you sit tight, Kris. I'll get an idea. I have to get an idea.
You, sent for me, Mrs. Macy?
I certainly did, Miss Sawyer. I brought my family to the toy department to see our Santa Claus. And our Santa Claus isn't there. He's in Bellevue?
Yes, Mrs. Macy.
Because he's a lunatic?
Yes, ma'am, a lunatic.
Lunatic my foot. Now you listen to me, Sawyer. You get that case dropped right away, or you'll have another lump to match the one he gave you.
But it's out of my hands. Mr. Kringle goes to court in the morning.
Well, just see that he's back in the toy department by afternoon. Now get out of here!
Oh, Mr. Gailey! Mr. Gailey!
Yes?
I've been looking all over for you. I'm Mrs. Sawyer.
Oh, so you're Sawyer.
Yes, I was just speaking to the court clerk, and he said you represent Mr. Kringle. Well, I represent Mrs. Macy.
Oh, then I'll see you in court.
Oh, no. That's what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, Mrs. Macy would like to drop the whole case right now. You see, we're most anxious to avoid any publicity.
No publicity, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very interesting.
Oh, then you'll cooperate?
You know something, Sawyer? You've just given me the idea I've been searching for.
Oh, good.
I mean, if I'm going to win this case, I'm going to have public opinion, and plenty of it. Publicity is just the way to do it. Thanks. Oh, and so long, Miss Sawyer.
Mr. Gailey, but Mr. Gailey!
Look at these newspapers, Kris. Here, Evening Dispatch. Dr. Stout's Sanity of Santa, who launched Goodwill campaign.
Oh my.
And here, the Daily Bulletin. Macy Santa Claus to have lunacy hearing.
What's this one?
The New York Express.
Is Kris Kringle crazy? Court case coming. Kiddies cry calamity.
You've driven the United Nations clear back to page 5. Well, get a good night's sleep, Kris. We go before Judge Harper at 10 tomorrow morning.
Our stars will return with Act 3 of Miracle on 34th Street in just a moment. It's a sweet holiday season as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory takes the stage this weekend at the Brantford Sanderson Center from December 20th to 22nd, 2024. Be sure not to miss the magic, whimsy, and golden tickets waiting for you. But that's just the beginning of an incredible lineup coming up in 2025. In January, climb aboard for Murder on the Orient Express, a thrilling mystery that will keep you guessing. After that, from February into March, join Dorothy and friends on an unforgettable adventure in The Wizard of Oz. In April, we're adding a bit of magical mischief with Puffs, a hilarious take on 7 years of wizarding school, followed by May and June with the larger-than-life spectacle of Shrek the Musical. For fans of our Society of Radio Theater series, mark your calendars for January 1st when we'll reveal our 2025 audio play season. Expect gripping tales of dystopian futures, courtroom dramas, timeless revolutions, and a holiday mystery featuring everyone's favorite detective. There's something for everyone in 2025, so stay tuned and keep the drama alive with Playful Fox Productions. And now, the curtain rises on the third act of Miracle on 34th Street. For a few weeks now, a jolly elderly gentleman named Kris Kringle has been working minor miracles as Macy's Santa Claus. Now, his sanity has been seriously questioned, and in a crowded courtroom, Judge Harper listens patiently as the assistant district attorney summons Kris to the witness stand.
Now, this is not a trial, Mr. Kringle. It's just a hearing, so you don't have to answer any questions. Now then, where do you live, please?
Well, it seems to me that's what this hearing will decide, won't it?
Mr. Kringle, do you believe that you are Santa Claus?
Of course I do.
That's all, Your Honor. The state rests its case.
Well, Mr. Gailey?
Your Honor, Mr. Murrah contends my client is not sane because he believes he is Santa Claus.
An entirely logical conclusion. Anyone who thinks he's Santa Claus is crazy.
Your Honor, you believe yourself to be Judge Harper, yet no one questions your sanity because you are, in fact, Judge Harper, don't they?
Mr. Kringle is the subject of this insanity hearing, not I.
Well, Your Honor, I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Mr. Mira, I thought you said this was a cut and dry sanity hearing.
Well, I thought it was, Your Honor.
In view of Mr. Gailey's statement, I'll have to review the entire background of this case. Court adjourned until tomorrow morning.
Hello, Doris. Oh, I'm sorry I'm late, but get ready. We're really going to celebrate tonight.
What are we celebrating?
Oh, didn't you read the papers? Santa's mouthpiece throws bombshell in New York Supreme Court.
Oh, Fred, you're not really serious about this. You can't possibly prove that Kris Kringle is Santa Claus.
Well, you saw Mrs. Macy and Mr. Gimbel shake hands. That wasn't possible either.
What does your firm have to say about it? Hayslip and Mackenzie and the rest of them.
They said that I've jeopardized their prestige, and either I drop this impossible case or they'll drop me.
You see?
So I beat him to it. I quit.
Fred, you threw away a career because of a sentimental whim?
Well, I'll open my own office.
And what kind of clients will you get?
Well, probably a lot of people like Kris who are being pushed around. That's the only fun in law anyway. Doris, look, don't you have any faith in me at all?
Oh, it's not a question of faith. It's just common sense.
But faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. It's not just Kris that's on trial, Doris. It's everything he stands for. Human kindness and love and dignity.
Oh, Fred, listen. We've seen a lot of each other these last couple of weeks. Well, I've become fond of you. We've talked about some wonderful plans, haven't we? And then you do this. Go on an idealistic binge, throw away your security, and expect me to be happy about it.
And I expect too much, is that it? Well, that's that then. Good night, Doris.
Hello? Yes, this is Mr. Mara. Well, can't it wait till tomorrow? I'm eating Who's been subpoenaed? Well, how do you think I feel about it? I'll see you tomorrow.
Who is that, dear?
R.H. Macy's been subpoenaed.
Oh, my.
Those reporters. They make me look like a sadistic monster who likes nothing better than to drown pussycats and tear wings off butterflies.
Oh, quiet, dear. Tommy's still awake.
Oh, yeah.
It'd just break his heart if he knew what his daddy is doing.
I'm doing my job as assistant district attorney.
Well, I'm not so sure that I agree with him. Mr. Kringle looks like a very nice old man, and I don't see why you have to keep persecuting him.
I'm not persecuting him, I'm prosecuting him. I like the old man too, but there's nothing I can do about it.
You know something, Thomas? Sometimes I wish I'd marry a butcher or a plumber.
Well, if I lose this case, it's very possible you'll get your wish. R.H. Macy. I wonder what she's gonna pull tomorrow.
Proceed with the witness, Mr. Gailey.
Now then, Mrs. Macy, if you recognize the defendant, please tell us who he is.
Why, Kris Kringle, of course.
Do you believe him to be of sound mind?
Sound mind? I wish I had a dozen like him.
Miss Macy, you are under oath. Do you believe that man is Santa Claus?
Well, now that's, rather delicate.
Just think of those headlines tomorrow. Macy admits Santa Claus is fraud.
You keep out of this, Gimbel.
What did you say?
Nothing, Mr. Mara, nothing.
Well, I wish you would. Is that man Santa Claus?
Yes. In my opinion, he most certainly is.
Your Honor, there is no such person as Santa Claus, and everybody knows it.
Mr. Mara, can you prove there isn't any?
I won't even try. I'll not waste this court's time with such childish nonsense. Your Honor, the prosecution requests an immediate ruling from this court. Is there or is there not a Santa Claus?
Well now, the court will take a short recess to consider the question.
Hello, Henry.
Why, Charlie, what are you doing here?
Can't an old friend visit you in your chambers? And if you ask me, you never needed a friend like you do now.
This Kringle case? Well, I certainly don't see what they're making a fuss about.
Henry, that's Santa Claus you've got out there on trial for lunacy. This case is dynamite, and you're coming up for re-election soon.
Charlie, you know what happened last night? Martha brought the grandchildren over. They wouldn't kiss Grandpa. They wouldn't even talk to me.
You see what I mean? If you rule there is no Santa Claus, you'd better start looking for that chicken farm right now.
I'm a responsible judge. How can I seriously rule that there is a Santa Claus?
Because of what happens if you don't. The kids read about it and they don't hang up their stockings. Now what happens to all the toys that are supposed to be in those stockings? Nobody buys them. The toy manufacturers have to lay off employees. By now you've got the AF of L and the CIO against you. Yes, and they're going to say it with votes, see? Oh, and the department stores are going to love you too. Yes, sir, Henry. And what about the Salvation Army? They've got a Santa Claus on every street corner. They take in a lot of money to help the poor. But go ahead, Henry. You go in there and rule there isn't a Santa Claus. But if you do, you can count on getting just 2 votes. Your own and that district attorney's out there.
1 vote, Charlie. He's a Republican. Let's get this over with. The question of Santa Claus seems to be largely a matter of opinion. The tradition of American justice demands a broad and unprejudiced view of such a controversial matter.
But, Your Honor...
This court, therefore, intends to keep its mind open. We shall ask for evidence on either side.
But the burden of proof clearly rests with my opponent. Can he produce any evidence to support his views?
If Your Honor, please, I can. Will Thomas Mara please take the stand?
Who, me?
No, Thomas Mara Jr. I believe he and his mother are both in court today.
Hi, Papa.
Hi.
Hi, Tommy. Do you believe in Santa Claus?
I certainly do. He gave me a brand new sled last year.
Now, what does Santa Claus look like, Tommy?
Well, there he is, sitting over there.
Your Honor, I protest.
Overruled.
Tell me, Tommy, why are you so sure there is a Santa Claus?
Because my papa told me so. That's what you do, Pops.
Thank you, Tommy. You can go back to your mother now.
See you later, Papa.
You certainly will. Your Honor.
Don't forget, Santa, this year I want a football helmet.
Don't worry, Tommy. You'll get it.
Mr. Kringle, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, sir.
Your Honor. The state of New York concedes the existence of a Santa Claus. But, in so conceding, we demand that Mr. Gailey stop representing and presenting personal opinion as evidence. I insist he submit authority to prove that Mr. Kringle here is the one and only Santa Claus.
Well, Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus on the basis of unprejudiced authority?
Well, sir, no, not now. I would need a little time.
Why not now?
Tomorrow, Your Honor?
Very well. Court's adjourned until tomorrow morning.
Now come, Susan dear. Finish your supper.
But I can't, Mother. All those things they're saying in the newspaper about Mr. Kringle and Mr. Gailey.
They're having this trial because he says he's Santa Claus.
He's so kind and nice and jolly. He's not like anyone else I know. He must be Santa.
You know something? I think perhaps you're right.
Is Mr. Kringle sad now, Mother?
I'm afraid he must be.
Then I'll write him a letter. Maybe that'll make him feel better. I'll cheer him up.
Oh, postman! Postman!
Yeah, lady?
Would you mind taking this letter?
Oh, sure, lady. We're going straight down to the post office now. Okay, Louie, take it away. Well, what do you know, Louie? Another letter for Santa Claus. Hey, here's a new one. Instead of the North Pole, this kid's got it addressed to Kris Kringle, New York County Courthouse.
No, the kid's right.
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. They got him on trial down there. He claims he's Santa Claus, and the DA claims he's nuts. Hey. Hey, I got an idea.
Yeah?
How many Santa Claus letters we got down there in the dead letter office?
Oh, who knows? Must be 50,000. Bags and bags all over the joint. Hey, you mean...
Well, Louie, why not? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of them all? Wouldn't it? Boy, oh boy. Look, Louie, soon as we get to the post office, we go and see the supervisor. You know something? I bet we both get promoted.
Yeah!
And since the defense has been unable to submit one shred of proof that Kris Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus, and since tonight is Christmas Eve, I ask, Your Honor, that this hearing be terminated without further delay.
I object, Your Honor. I do, in fact, have evidence.
5 minutes ago, you said you didn't.
During Mr. Mara's oration, the bailiff handed my client the evidence I referred to.
What evidence?
This letter, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Kringle?
It's from Susan Walker. She believes in me. Oh, this letter means more to me than anything in the world.
That letter, Your Honor, was delivered by the United States Post Office, an official agency of the federal government. The Post Office Department is one of the largest business concerns in the world. Last year, they did a gross volume of over $1 billion, and this year...
Your Honor, I'm sure we're all gratified that the Post Office is getting along so well. But what bearing has it on the sanity of that man?
My point is that the Post Office Department is a model of efficiency. Furthermore, the laws of this country make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or intentionally deliver it to the wrong party.
The state of New York is second to none in its admiration of the post office department. We're very happy to concede Mr. Gailey's
For
claim.
the record, Mr. Mara?
For the record. Anything to get on with this case.
Thank you. Your Honor, that letter just received by Mr. Kringle is positive proof that a competent...
One letter is hardly positive proof.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Come, Mr. Gailey. Put them here on my desk.
But, Your Honor...
I said, put them on my desk.
All right, boys, bring them in.
Your Honor, what is this?
Empty those mail sacks on Judge Harper's desk. Bring them all in or be fined for contempt of court.
Now, just a second here.
We'll do it, Your Honor. Through rain, through sleep, through courtrooms, anything. We deliver.
Mr. Gailey.
Your Honor, every one of those letters in every one of those mail sacks is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office delivered them. Therefore, the post office recognizes Kris Kringle to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute it. For heaven's sakes, get this mail out of my courtroom.
So, as soon as I got out of court, I came straight to Macy's to see you, Doris.
Oh, Kris, I'm so glad you won.
Well, we're having a big Christmas party at the Brooks' home tomorrow morning. And I'd like so much to see you and Susan there.
We'll be there, Kris. Oh, Kris, couldn't you come home now and have dinner with us?
Now? Tonight? Me? Oh my goodness, Doris. It's Christmas Eve. Alfred, look! Luke came all the way out here to the home, just for our Christmas party.
Kris, it's Macy.
Mr. Gimbel, too. Oh, excuse me, Alfred. Mrs. Walker and Susan have to leave now, and I want to see them before they go. So forgive me, will you?
But Susie, darling, you got so many presents.
Not the one I wanted. Not the one Mr. Kringle was gonna get for me.
Well, what was it?
Doesn't matter. I knew I wouldn't get it, but I thought he'd at least tell me why.
Susie. I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best. But,
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus.
Susan!
Just a nice old man like Mother said.
But I was wrong when I told you that. You must believe in Mr. Kringle and keep right on doing it. You must have faith in him.
But that doesn't make sense, Mother.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
What?
I mean, just because things don't turn out the way you want them to the first time, you've still got to believe in people. I found that out.
Hello, Doris.
Fred!
Mr. Gailey! Mr. Gailey!
Merry Christmas, Susie.
Gosh, you just get here and we're ready to leave.
Oh, I've been here.
Oh?
And if you're ready to leave, I'll drive you home.
Before you go, here's a map I've made for you. You'll miss a lot of traffic. About 4 miles south, you will see Ashley Avenue. Now that's the street you want, Ashley Avenue.
Well, thanks, Kris. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Fred. And to you, my dear. And to you, Susan.
I believe, Mr. Kringle, I do. It's silly, I suppose, but I do.
I don't understand it, Fred. The map Kris gave definitely says Ashley Avenue. We've been on Ashley Avenue now for...
Stop the car! Oh, stop the car, please!
Susie, what is it, darling? What's the matter?
There it is! The house! The house!
Susie!
What in the world?
She's running into that house.
Well, at least there's no one home. It's brand new. It's just been built.
Yeah. It says for sale.
What on earth is that child up to?
Susie? Hey, Susie!
Here I am, upstairs.
Now, Susan, come right down. You know you shouldn't run around in other people's houses. That's strange.
I'll say.
No. I mean this house. I've seen this house somewhere. I know I have. Maybe in a magazine.
Mother, it's our house. It's the one I asked him for. Mr. Kringle.
Mr. Kringle?
I know it is. Oh, you were right, Mommy. You were right.
Susie?
Mommy told me that if things don't turn out just the way you wanted them at first, you've still gotta believe. And I kept believing. And you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Now where are you going?
In back, to see if there's a swing. There is one. Oh, there is one.
You really told her that? All that about believing?
Well, you told me, Fred.
The sign outside, it does say for sale. We can't let her down, can we?
I never really doubted you. It was just my silly common sense.
Even makes sense to believe in me now, doesn't it? I must be a pretty good lawyer. I take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. Now, you know, that couldn't be...
Fred!
What's the matter?
There, in the corner, by the fireplace.
Oh, no. No.
It can't be. It couldn't.
A cane? Chris's cane. There couldn't be two canes like this anywhere in the world.
Silver handle and all.
You know something? Maybe it wasn't such an impossible win after all.
Miracle on 34th Street was directed and edited by R.C. Scott, starring Marissa Kate Wilson as Doris Walker, Makenna Dye as Susan, Darien Fox as Fred Gailey, Richard V. Ouellette as Kris Kringle, featuring Jessica Logan as Shellhammer, Megan Graham as R.H. Macy, Candi Zell as SAWYER, Jennifer Wren and Jill Pye as The Mothers, John Bell as Dr. Pierce, Aaron Gorlick as Gimbel, Harmony Szolga as the nurse, Ron VanDerZwaag as the judge, Dean Curtis as Charlie, Ralph Tutin as Mara, Jessica Tutin as Mrs. Mara, Jen Gregory-Gordon as the postman, and Jeff Gordon as Louie, featuring participants from the Crossing All Bridges Learning Center, including Luke as Alfred, Brooke as Miss Prong, Julian as Mortimer, Samantha as the girl, and Chad as Tommy. My name is Rob Kerwayne, and on behalf of the Society of Radio Theater and all of us here at Playful Fox Productions, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a very Merry New Year.